Greetings, this is Vane and welcome to Mordor, the Depths of Dejenol. In the last episode, we started building the characters we needed for our new evil party. Well, I say started with characters. We basically created a future villain who was a female troll called Bagota. Now, for our next one, we want an ogre warrior. As far as I'm aware, sex doesn't make any difference and doesn't actually play any sort of thing in the game. So, yeah. Female ogre. Let's see. Just Jax. Jax sounds like a good name for a female ogre, I think. We're going to go with something like that. I mean, we've got access to all three guilds that an ogre character can have, which is the Nomad, the Warrior, and the Scavenger. So, let's run checks. Make sure you're a warrior. Again, let's rearrange what we want. Like I said, this time I normally go for the biggest, but kind of, decided we're gonna go with a sword and board fighter for Jax, I think. Well, a mason board, because that lets us use a shield. And as you can see with the iron battle axes, we haven't actually got a lot of iron battle axes. So that's not bad. Let's deposit you in there. Now we want Bagota to join. Or Bog. Let's ask. Who do we want? We want what? And we can ask Jax. Fine. Let's get on with the slaying. things that I haven't already said over the past 100 or so episodes. But rushing is what gets you killed. Plus, you know, because you're playing, I mean, you could just go, okay, just one character if you wanted, but because we're kind of playing all the characters and swapping between parties, we're kind of setting the foundation for the game well, rather than just one party. And a solid foundation will help us out in the long run. Because that means, should the worst happen to favoured characters, there are ways and means of getting them back into the game, as it were. We're still looking to defeat that rowdy. Okay. Can't use. Determined not to give me that rowdy, aren't they? The good thing is once a character has got maybe 2 or 3 levels under their belt, they can pretty much handle everything environmentally that's their first level will throw at them. Which is good, because once you can handle everything the first level throws at you, be it the lake area, dealing with the aboleth, etc., then you can basically start farming level 1. The sad thing is that humans are really underpowered in this game, sort of, simply because their only benefit is they level up fast, which is great if you want a quick character, but quite often if you they'll end up outpacing their equipment far too quickly. But it does generally mean that they will have more hit points than a character with the same experience, but not a character with the same level. So it's just, so if you want to level up fast, a human is great. But the downside is they have absolutely no immunities whatsoever. They have no resistance to anything, so much anything that uses anything other than hitting them with a sword. Sorry, I'm a bit gravelly today. Basically, they're gonna, and that means they're poison. And basically, if they're gonna end up suffering status effects, they generally will. So unless you've got the abilities to protect them from those, you're pretty much going to find that most of the game they're going to be the advantage of having more hit points by virtue of being higher level than their peers kind of gets underrated when they're actually losing most of them. Because humans have basically average stats for everything, you know, they're not going to reach the highest abilities. They're not going to have the highest ability scores, and they're going to fight. I mean, because you can only go 5 points higher than your racial maximum, and every ability score for a human being is maxed at 18. You're only going to get to 23, whereas you've got a giant who goes up to, well, I think it's 22. They can have a strength of 27. You've got to ask yourself, which is better? Because ability scores do actually mean quite a lot, unless it's like charisma, for example. Not the best. Anyway, let's get to you. Ninja. File for forfeit. Yes. Level 20. Yes. It's annoying, but we gotta do it. And we'll probably find Rowdy in the next room now. Nomad level 5. Let's see if you've got. Tracks, okay. And when you think about it, for example, Dex is used for opening chests, for example. So you want a higher Dex for your thief or your rogue character, which is understandable. And the other thing as well is because racial ability scores all start at the average for the race. If you've got a character that has an average score between 9 to 22, which is the case with ogres or giants, then you're going to start with a higher strength. They're going to be dealing more damage and able to use higher damage weapons and stuff like that. Because you'll notice that there's no ranged weapons in this game. And a big part of that is because you don't need them. the way the game works is everyone in a room can attack everyone else in the room. That little area is where the encounter is, and it's automatically melee range, so you don't need anything that can attack from further away. But at the same point, that's also annoying because the traditional method of dealing with monsters that can poison you is to try and kill them from range so that they can't hit you and thus poison you, which you can't do in this game. But that's not all bad, simply because in many games, as you've seen, Baldur's Gate for example, you'll have seen this. Ranged weapons are pretty overpowered. I mean, a lot of the encounters in Baldur's Gate, for example, were more like artillery and sniping and urban combat, and it seemed more like a command and conquer game than you'd get in a role-playing game. Sure, you might be able to have a tank-up fighter who might hold the front line, but when they're being sniped and you've got to charge the enemy, you know, that's a lot of hits you're taking unless you can afford the best armor class. So, in a way, especially at lower levels, ranged weapons are pretty much superior and often overpowered. Of course, because the primary weapons for ranged weapons are your normal arrows, soon you encounter magic that shuts that down. But in a standard game, that's not going to happen. And it's kind of like you end up with a party that's basically all equipped with assault rifles. So the tactics becomes tactics at range rather than the assumption, which is often melee. And you can notice the difference between a low level and a high level dungeon, for example, because a low level dungeon will have smaller rooms to try and keep things close and to justify melee combat as a viable tactic, because ranged opponents won't have a lot of room to maneuver. But in higher levels they become more cavernous because the enemies get more abilities and you want to give them loads of room to maneuver. So it's interesting in Mordor, Depths of Dejenol that none of that actually occurs because there is no range combat. Again, that's a kind of old school kind of approach. For example, in the early Might and Magic games, I want to get round to playing that at some point and just showing it off to you. In games like way of the beholder, you could fire ranged weapons at and the projectiles would move down the hallways. But in games like Might and Magic, that's not how ranged attacks work. What they had was a division between what was the front line, who could attack and melee, and back line, who were protected, and would need ranged weapons and attacks to be able to attack anyone in the combat. And it's quite interesting because one of the big key strategies for Might and Magic, for example, is watching what happens when your front line falls down. Once your front line falls down, because they're the ones with the highest defence, the melee enemies generally kind of just overrun your party because the back line rarely has that sort of defence. And they're just not necessarily built to hold a front line. I mean, that's an interesting design choice, I think, here. But it does reflect kind of that old school, everyone's in the encounter era fighting, however, in just some kind of brawl. And plus, because you can't use ranged attacks, the enemies can't use ranged attacks either, so you're not worrying about whether they can hit you from down the corridor. So you also have more control over... Basically, if you don't go into a room, you know that you're not going to face the encounter in that room. It's that simple. And it does say you need to buy your backboard just to equip you. So that's cool. I'll sell you though. Golta has a Tome of Learning, so we'll get into the dungeon to use that before I forget. Yeah. And we will call it there. So this has been Vane doing a Let's Play Mordor, Depths of Dejenol. If you like what you're seeing here, be sure to like, subscribe, share and comment. Please consider sponsoring me on Patreon, and until next time, goodbye.